Hello, hello, this is Evan Rogers coming at you with another individual grammar lesson. Today's lesson is the plain form for verbs. This is your sixth verb lesson. That's very exciting. Be sure to check out www.evanseasyjapanese.com to learn more about Japanese, see some exciting Skyrim translations. Be sure to like this video, subscribe, share it with your friends, and generally pass it along to your friends, etc., etc. Also, you have to donate all your money, otherwise people will cry. I'm kidding. So today's lesson is the plain form. Before we begin, make sure that you're familiar with how to read and write Japanese. You should know at least hiragana and katakana. Number 2, you need to know your mas verbs, which I'll have a link here to the videos where we talk about this. You should also know how to make verb stems, or at least how to identify verb stems from the mas form. We're going to be using that today. Number 4, you need to also be able to identify verb groups. Without your ability to identify verb groups, you won't be able to make the plain form. So if you don't know how to do that, there's a link to the video that I've taught about verb groups already. All of this info and more can be found on my ultimately exciting site, evanseasyjapanese.com. Woo! What is the plain form? Let's just talk about it a little bit. Here we have the phrase sentence final, the sentence final form of the verb. So we've already introduced the mas form in previous verbs, or in previous videos, about the mas form of the verbs. This is called the distal, the formal, the polite speaking form. That's when you're talking politely to people. Plain form verbs, aka they can also be considered the dictionary form of the verb, is used for when you're being casual or when you're being not so formal. The plain form, which is also known as the dictionary form, the casual form, or even the ru form or the u form, there's a bajillion different ways to say it. It's used for casual, everyday, friendly speech. You're going to be using this with family members, friends, chums, or even homies. And even anyone whom you don't feel like you need to keep a distance an emotional distance from. That's why this the mas form is sometimes called the distal form, because you're putting at a quote-unquote emotional distance between each other. Generally, it's just for when you want to be chill. Yeah. Verb 6, what is it more? Notice that it's called the dictionary form. This is because when you look up a verb in the dictionary, this is the form you have to use. Specifically, the plain present/future, positive/ if you want to call it the affirmative or the positive, it's up to you, the non-passive and the non-causative form. And that is how you look up a verb in the dictionary. Modern day dictionaries today, all you punk kids who didn't have to walk uphill 19 different times to school and then fly into outer space every minute. I don't know what I'm talking about. Anyway, dictionaries online and dictionary apps have made looking up words insanely easy. I'll be recommending a few later, and I'll be showing you a website that I love later in this very video. Because this is an exciting video for you, because you guys are going to finally learn how to look up verbs on your own. You can actually do that now. That's a historical moment in your learning Japanese career. This is an important thing to learn so you can learn new verbs when translating. That's the important thing. This is a huge step in learning how to learn on your own. If you just get a little bit more grammar in you, if you just get a little bit more understanding of what's going on, you don't need to know what the words are anymore. You can just, if you just learn the grammar, you can pick up a book, and then if you know how all the words interact with each other, but you don't know what the words are, you can just look up the words later. And this is a huge step to be able to do that. So this is a very important lesson for you. This should be a milestone, verbs number 6. Okay, let's continue on. We're going to talk even more about the dictionary/plain form. Many sentences are... I want to talk about one of its uses. This form of the verb is used to create clauses. If you're not an English major or you're not familiar with language terminology, a clause is basically when you have two sentences or more in a single sentence. For example, because I went to the store, my mother was free to take a nap. I can't even read what I was writing. Because I went to the store, my mother was free to take a nap. Notice how there's two subjects. I went to the store, my mother was free to take a nap. And there's two verbs. I went to the store, my mother was free. Technically, there's a third verb. This is take. This is actually an infinitive. We don't really call it that because it doesn't take place. We don't really call it a verb because it doesn't take place in time. But that's aside the point. However, if you notice, it's still one sentence. There's only one period. It's one complete thought. These little mini sentences that you'll find inside of bigger sentences, these are called clauses. There's various names for different types of clauses. In Japanese, they exist too. The verbs of clauses are frequently, not always, in the plain form. And I want to be more specific. The verbs in the beginning, so like, because I went to the store, this went would very frequently be just in the plain form, even if you're being polite. Whereas my mother was free to take a nap would be in the distal form, if you're trying to be polite. Now, of course, they could both be in the plain form, because in both situations, if you're being casual with somebody, you don't need the mas form at all. But we're going to talk about casual speech later in a different video. This is just teaching you how to make and use the basics of the plain form. Notice how I said earlier that the final verb in the sentence would be the important one to distinguish if you're talking casually or plainly. That's why earlier I talked about sentence final verbs. That's an important term to keep in mind. The final sentence and verbs in Japanese help determine how polite you're being. Let's move on to actually making the plain form. Group 3, verbs. Remember, you should know how to do this. If you don't know it, boom, there's a link for you. Just as they've always been, group 3s are the oddballs. Just memorize these ones. Shimasu just is suru. Notice the shi turns into a su, then it's just ru at the end. Kimasu, the ki turns into a ku, and then there's just ru at the end. Des, depending on which type of which form you're talking about, it could be da, which is used more in speaking, and de aru, which is used more in writing. Both are des. We will learn how to make these negative past tense and negative past tense in another video. It'll be a conjugation video of some sort. I haven't made it yet. Plain form creation, group 2. Group 2 verbs are incredibly easy to make. So just follow these Evan's easy instructions. 1. Put them in the stem form. Basically, if you forget what the stem form is, just kill the mas. Here's a video, ding, linking to how to make the stem, the mas form. I'm sorry, the stem. Can't talk right now. There was a link earlier in the video too. So, and then after the stem, just tack on ru, and you're done. Just mi mas, kill the mas. You get the stem is mi. Add ru, mi ru, mi ru. It's that easy. Tabemas, tabe is the stem. Just tack on ru, tabe ru. To wear clothing, kimas, ki, kiru. Imas, to be in a location, iru. It's that easy. Group 2 are beautiful. They're so easy to use. They're so easy to conjugate. Oh, it's so lovely. They're so easy to conjugate. Oh, I love them so much. Group 1's a little bit trickier, but they're not that bad. Did I say that bad? Whatever. That bad. They ain't so bad. They think they're tough, but they ain't. Group 1 verbs are a little bit more tricky. You get them into the stem just like they were. Apparently I didn't decide to label these sections of this table because I'm a genius. And then just change the last character to its corresponding u sound. So if we have the stem here for ikimasu, we have iki is the stem. Notice how this is a ki, ki sound. Just change that ki to a ku. It's still the k, but it's not the ki, it's the ku. We just change it to the u sound. Ki goes to ku. Nomimasu, nomi, no mu. The mi goes to mu. This is the plain form right here. Asobimasu, asobi is the stem. Asobi, the corresponding u sound is asobu. Babi bu bebo. So from the b to the boo, to the izzle to the hizzle, to the whizzle to the shizzle. Kashimasu, the stem is kashi. Switch it to kasu, and you're done. That's it. You just change the stem form's final sound from the e sound to the corresponding u sound. From the e to the u. Okay, I'll stop doing that. Now that you know how to make the plain form, be sure to practice going from the mas form to the plain form and from the plain form to the mas form. You have to do it both ways. In this wonderful language that we have, it's not just going from mas to plains. It's not. You have to know how to go from plain to mas form. It's really just the same thing backwards. If you see iku, I just went back a slide. If you see iku, the ku turns into the e sound, because remember how we just we turned it from the E to the U. To go backwards, you change the ku to a ki, the mu to a mi, the bu to a b, and the su to a she. And then you just add mas. So be sure to be able to do it both ways. Practice it as much as you can. The second thing that's important is you can look up almost any verb now in almost any dictionary. Even those old fogey grandpa paper dictionaries. Oh God, books. You can now do that. Here's an awesome website, ejje.weblio.jp. I highly recommend it if you have internet access. I will show you how to use it really quickly. Ta-da! Here's ejje.weblio.jp. There's a whole bunch of Japanese. It's tricky to figure out. It's don't worry too much about all this stuff. You have a big search bar on the top, and then in a video I just uploaded earlier this week, I think, how to type in Japanese. And you can type into Japanese, and then just, do your Japanese thing. Type in a verb. Oh, there's this awesome verb called tabemasu. Oh wait, I know how to make the plain form. I will say tabemasu. Get to the stem form. It's a group 2 verb, so we'll just add ru. Okay, Weblio, we looked up taberu, and it shows us a huge list of taberu related things. You click here, tabete miru, it gives you a whole bunch of examples. Eat, have, take. And then it gives you see this little symbol right here, it means this is another thing that means the same thing. Try, taste, sample. This is with the te miru. If you have o tabeteru, if you have tabe saseru, if you have tabe tsugeru, or tabe, actually I forgot how to read that, tabe rareru, tabe rarenai. It gives you a whole bunch of other stuff that you can look up as well. It even gives you example sentences. We did not eat until 10 p.m. because there were so many phone calls. So, you can read all that stuff if you want to. If you're good enough with Japanese, you can read this to get a flavor for what the verb exactly means. Here's some other reibuns, what are they called? Example sentences. Just click here for example sentences up the wazoo. Boom, there's 44 pages of example. Oh my God. Yeah, lots of example sentences that you can check on. Sakana o taberu. Feeding on fishes, or just eat fish, whatever. This is a fantastic, it works for nouns too, don't get me wrong. We can type in, I don't know, nani? And we can get, let's go back to the actual dictionary. These two kanjis right here, jiten, that's for dictionaries. And this is nani? And nani, it tells you what these words mean. Okay. Let's go back to the final part of the video. And here are basically what we're going to be doing in the future regarding plain form videos. This is the first video. This is just how to make it. We're going to learn how to conjugate the plain form. I already talked about that earlier. Negative, past, negative, past. Learn the difference between the plain form and the mas form. We're going to delve into the actual differences between them. We're going to learn how to use the plain form verbs as adjectives. Holy moly. And we're going to learn how to speak casually. There's a little bit more to speaking casually than just the plain form verbs. We'll get into that. Sounds awesome. Really quickly about the plain form. Check out my videos on Skyrim. Check out the videos that I have on Skyrim on my website, because everyone in that video game is spouting out the plain form. So please, it's a fantastic chance to practice going back and forth from the plain form to the mas form. I highly recommend it. That's about it. That's about it for the plain form for now. Check out evanseasyjapanese.com for more practice, more videos, more general things about Japan that I throw up there. Donations are more than welcome. In fact, they're so welcome that I'm going to demand them from you with a shotgun. Alright? I know where you live. No, I don't really, but yeah, I'm just being a jack. Jerk nugget might be a better word than what I was about to say. Oh, yuck. Have yourself a wonderful, wonderful day.